Your pumpkin vine is covered in bright yellow flowers. Every morning, it looks like you're about to harvest dozens of pumpkins. But weeks go by, the flowers shrivel, fall off, and you're left wondering why all those blooms produced almost nothing. One of the most talked about fixes online is a $1 bottle of unsulfured blackstrap molasses. Some gardeners swear by it. Others try it and see no difference at all. The surprising part is that both experiences can be completely accurate, because molasses isn't solving the problem most pumpkin plants actually have. In many gardens, the real issue starts long before a pumpkin ever has a chance to grow. It begins with the type of flower opening that morning, whether it be visited during a very short pollination window, how much heat the pollen is exposed to, and even what fertilizer was applied weeks earlier. If any one of those pieces is missing, the flower may never become a pumpkin, no matter what you pour around the roots. There's another detail that catches a lot of gardeners off guard. A pumpkin vine can produce dozens, even hundreds, of flowers before it ever starts setting a good crop. That doesn't always mean something is wrong. The plant has its own strategy, and once you understand it, those early flowers suddenly make a lot more sense. Then there's the weather. A vine can look perfectly healthy, yet one stretch of hot afternoons can quietly reduce pollen viability, while inconsistent watering can cause the plant to abort young fruit before it has a chance to develop. At the same time, too much nitrogen can push lush green growth and even more flowers, while actually working against pumpkin production. And where does unsulfured blackstrap molasses fit into all of this? Not as a flower booster, and not as a direct fruiting stimulant. Under the right soil conditions, it can support beneficial microbes that help recycle nutrients and improve overall plant vigor. But if poor pollination is the real problem, molasses alone won't create a single extra pumpkin. So before you spend another season chasing internet gardening hacks, let's uncover what's really happening inside your pumpkin patch, and why understanding just a few minutes of pumpkin biology can make a much bigger difference than almost any bottle on the shelf. The first thing to understand is that not every pumpkin flower is supposed to become a pumpkin. In fact, early in the season, most of them can't. Pumpkin vines produce two different kinds of flowers, male and female. The male flowers usually appear first, sometimes a week or two before the females. Their job is simple. They produce pollen. Once they've opened for the morning, they're preparing the plant for the next stage of reproduction. Female flowers are easy to recognize once you know what to look for. Just behind the petals, you'll see a small swollen structure that already looks like a miniature pumpkin. That's the ovary. If pollination is successful, it begins expanding into a mature fruit. If not, that tiny pumpkin stops growing, turns yellow or brown, and eventually drops from a vine. This is where many gardeners become concerned. They see dozens of flowers falling off and assume the plant is unhealthy. But if those are male flowers, that's completely normal. Male blooms naturally last for only a day before closing and dropping. They're meant to supply pollen, not produce fruit. The challenge begins when a female flower opens. It has an incredibly short opportunity to be pollinated. In most cases, the flower opens shortly after sunrise and starts closing by late morning. Once it closes, that window is largely over. If pollen doesn't reach the stigma during those few hours, the tiny pumpkin usually won't continue developing. That means successful pumpkin production depends on perfect timing. A fresh male flower has to be releasing viable pollen at the same time a female flower is receptive. Then a pollinator, usually a bee, has to move that pollen from one flower to the other before the opportunity disappears. Understanding this short pollination window explains why a vine can appear loaded with blooms, yet produce very few pumpkins. The flowers may be plentiful, but fruit only begins when biology, timing, and pollination all come together on the same morning. Even when your vine has both male and female flowers, pollination can still fail, and one of the biggest reasons is something you may never notice happening. Pumpkin flowers rely almost entirely on insects to move pollen. Honeybees certainly help, but in many parts of the United States, Canada, and the UK, native bees do much of the heavy lifting. Squash bees, where they're present in North America, are especially effective because they've evolved to forage almost exclusively on squash, pumpkins, and other cucurbits. They start working at dawn, often before honeybees become active. but bee activity depends heavily on the weather. A cool, rainy morning can keep many pollinators in their nests. Strong winds make flying difficult, and during extreme heat, bees may reduce their foraging or shift it to the coolest part of the morning. If fewer bees visit your flowers during that short pollination window, the chances of successful fruit set drop dramatically. Heat affects more than just the bees. It also affects the pollen itself. When daytime temperatures climb into the upper 80s or 90s Fahrenheit, especially if warm nights follow, pumpkin pollen can lose viability more quickly. In simple terms, even if pollen reaches a female flower, it may not be capable of completing fertilization. That's why gardeners sometimes see tiny pumpkins begin to grow for a few days, only to yellow, shrivel, and fall off. The flower was pollinated poorly or not completely, so the plant stopped investing energy in fruit that couldn't develop properly. Water stress creates another hidden problem. Pumpkin vines have large leaves that lose a tremendous amount of moisture on hot days. If the soil repeatedly swings from very dry to overly wet, the plant shifts into survival mode. Instead of putting energy into developing fruit, it conserves resources. One of the first sacrifices is often young pumpkins that have only recently been pollinated. This process, known as flower or fruit abortion, is a natural response to stress, not a disease. That's why simply adding another fertilizer or homemade flower booster often disappoints. If pollination, temperature, or water stress is a limiting factor, the plant isn't lacking encouragement. It's responding to conditions that directly affect its ability to reproduce. Another common reason pumpkin vines produce plenty of flowers, but very few pumpkins starts much earlier in the season, with fertilizer. It's easy to assume that if a little fertilizer is good, more must be better. But pumpkins don't respond that way. Nitrogen is the nutrient responsible for leafy growth. It's essential during the early stages because the plant needs a strong canopy to capture sunlight and fuel future fruit production. The problem comes when nitrogen stays too high after the vine is established. Instead of shifting more energy toward reproduction, the plant often continues investing in new vines and oversized leaves. From a distance, it looks incredibly healthy. The foliage is lush, deep green, and spreading across the garden. But underneath all that growth, fruit production can lag because the plant is still prioritizing vegetation over developing pumpkins. This doesn't mean phosphorus and potassium are fruit boosters that force pumpkins to appear. They have very different roles. Phosphorus supports root development, flowering, and energy transfer within the plant, while potassium helps regulate water movement, enzyme activity, and the transport of carbohydrates into developing fruit. A balanced nutrient supply allows the vine to support healthy pumpkins, but only after successful pollination has already occurred. That's why many products marketed as bloom enhancers don't address the real issue. If a female flower never receives enough viable pollen, no amount of extra phosphorus or potassium can reverse that missed opportunity. Fertilizer can't replace pollination. This is also where the conversation about molasses often becomes confusing. Many gardeners assume the sugars in molasses are feeding the pumpkin plant directly. They aren't. Pumpkin leaves manufacture their own sugars through photosynthesis using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Healthy plants are remarkably efficient at producing the carbohydrates they need. Pouring sugar into soil doesn't bypass that process or send extra sweetness into the fruit. What unsulfured blackstrap molasses can do is support the organisms living in the soil. Its natural sugars provide an energy source for beneficial bacteria and fungi. In soils that already contain good organic matter and active microbial life, those microbes help break down organic materials and recycle nutrients into forms that roots can absorb more easily. In other words, molasses supports the soil ecosystem, not the pumpkin directly. That distinction is a key to understanding why some gardeners notice healthier, more vigorous vines after using it, while others see almost no change. So, when is the molasses method actually worth trying? If your pumpkin plants are growing in soil that's rich in compost or other organic matter, beneficial microbes are already hard at work breaking down organic materials and recycling nutrients. In those living soils, a small amount of unsulfured blackstrap molasses can serve as an additional food source of those microbes, helping support the biological processes that keep nutrients moving through the root zone. Notice what's happening here. The molasses isn't feeding the pumpkin. It may be feeding the microscopic immunity that supports the pumpkin. That's why choosing the right product matters. Use unsulfured blackstrap molasses, not regular table syrup or flavored pancake syrup. Blackstrap molasses contain small amount of potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron, and other trace minerals. While these nutrients are present, they're not supplied in high enough quantities to replace a balanced fertilizer program. Think of molasses as supportive care, not the main source of nutrition. If you'd like to try it, keep the application modest. Mix about 1 tablespoon of unsulfured blackstrap molasses into 1 gallon, 3.8 liters, of water. Apply it to moist soil around a root zone every 2 to 4 weeks while the vine is actively growing. Watering into already moist soil helps distribute the solution more evenly and reduces unnecessary stress on the roots. Just as important is knowing what not to do. More isn't better. Applying concentrated molasses too often can encourage microbial imbalances in some soils, leave sticky residues that may attract ants or other nuisance insects, and create conditions that don't benefit the plant. And avoid spraying molasses directly onto open pumpkin flowers. Sticky blossoms can interfere with pollinators, which is exactly the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. If your vines still aren't setting pumpkins, step back and check the fundamentals first. Are both male and female flowers open at the same time? Are bees visiting early in the morning? Has the weather been unusually hot during flowering? Is the soil staying consistently moist instead of swinging between drought and saturation? Have you been applying a high nitrogen lawn fertilizer nearby? Those questions usually reveal the real bottleneck long before any soil additive does. If your pumpkin vine is covered with flowers but producing very few pumpkins, it's easy to assume the plant needs another fertilizer or a stronger homemade remedy. In reality, the answer is usually much simpler and much more interesting. Successful pumpkin production depends on several pieces coming together at the right time. The vine needs both male and female flowers. Pollinators need to visit during a very short morning window. The pollen has to remain viable despite the weather. The plant needs consistent moisture, and its nutrients have to be balanced so it supports fruit instead of endless leafy growth. That's where unsulfured blackstrap molasses fits in. It isn't a shortcut to bigger harvests, and it won't fix poor pollination, extreme heat, or excess nitrogen. But if your soil biology is one of the limiting factors, a light application can help support beneficial microbes that improve nutrient cycling and overall plant vigor. Used as part of a well-managed garden, not as a replacement for good gardening practices, it may provide a small but meaningful benefit. The biggest takeaway is this: don't judge your pumpkin crop by the number of flowers. Judge it by whether the conditions are right for those flowers to become fruit. Once you understand how the plant reproduces, you'll spend less time chasing quick fixes and more time solving the problems that actually matter. If you found this explanation helpful, give the video a like and subscribe for more research-backed gardening tips that separate popular myths from proven horticultural practices. And if you've tried growing pumpkins before, share your experience in the comments. Your observations might help another gardener enjoy a better harvest this season. Thanks for watching and happy gardening.